So about 28 years later, we've already broken down the trailer scene by scene, if you will. And we've talked about it. If you want to go check out that video here, we're just discussing theories and what exactly could be happening. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We're trying to reach 36,000 or 37,000 before Christmas, 10 days away. I think it's doable, y'all. I think it's doable. But let's get into some of the things that we have been trying to figure out. So some of these things I'm going to discuss were actually some comments that were left behind that actually helped me, and I'll put them up if you want to see them as well. But let's start off with the 28 years later opening of the trailer, which in fact could very well be a flashback, as some of you have pointed out, which I thought to myself, maybe it was just people living sort of in isolation and things like that. But I think it is important for the story to establish who these characters we're going to be with are, and also to sort of bring us back up to speed about what exactly happened. It's been years since we've had a 28 movie, and I think it is important to sort of go back to how it all started. And this very well could just be a flashback. Could we see Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor Johnson be one of those kids, or in this town where this all happened? That definitely sounds plausible and definitely something that I think would happen. So for sure, we could definitely be seeing at a flashback there, maybe another glimpse of how exactly everything came to be, because we usually do just jump straight into it. And I think maybe diving more into how this whole thing started and really spending some time there could be well appreciated, right? Especially if we're going to start a new trilogy now with the second film already done, and we'll talk about the second film in a bit. Stay tuned. But also, one of the things here is that the zombies are now stronger and infected. And infected, of course, they're infected, right? I want to say the infected zombies, whatever you want to call them, are stronger and they look bigger. And I pointed that out in my trailer breakdown, that these look huge if you look at them closely. Like, they look insanely huge. And maybe it's just a huge zombie or whatever, but it looks like things definitely have evolved here. One of the things I really love in the trailer as well is that whole tree right there that represents like life, purity, and stuff like that, surrounded by the infected, who are the dead, who are ravaging now all things that are living. And I really do want to see more about what these zombies, infected, whatever, really are trying to achieve. Maybe that's something we see more here. And of course, it's something that's trying to just be passed down, but I feel like we're going to get a little bit more deeper understanding of what exactly is an end goal here. Could we have a sort of like person who is trying to control and use them to their advantage? We've seen that before in other shows and other movies. There is definitely something afoot here. I don't think that these would just like evolve that quickly, right? Of course, things do evolve over time, but in less than 3 decades, I feel like there's something more going on here. And I think that's going to be a whole conspiracy as well. I believe that some of these like cult members, which I'll talk about in a bit, are also keen on or sort of trying to establish. That's a whole thing though. So we'll talk more about that whenever we get some more pieces to really put this whole puzzle together. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe. One of the things we know about the film in itself from Ralph Fiennes talking about it a couple of months ago, and I made that video as well, is that he says that the film will follow a young boy who we see in the film already in the trailer, who is trying to find a doctor, which I believe is played by Ralph, to help him and his mother who have become infected. And it seems that Aaron Taylor Johnson is going to be the one escorting them to find this doctor. And as they go through the mainland and stuff like that, they pretty much are living in this island that has been a big thing in the teaser, in a poster, and in the trailer as well. It's kind of secluded away from mainland and all that, but they are going to have to venture in order to find this doctor. And I believe a very crucial aspect of it all is they need to find the bone temple as well. There could be some answers there as well. Maybe some people there have found a way to sort of live with the virus and the mutations and things like that. That's where I think the film does end, is in that aspect when they find the bone temple, which I think is going to be a crucial part of the whole movie and where we go next in this story and trilogy. So very excited to see how that all is going to be, which by the way, that is going to be directed by Nia DaCosta. Somebody mentioned that Alex Garland is writing all 3, and I'm curious like what exactly Garland wants to do with this, especially because you consider that he wrote the first film when he was in his 30s and he's now in his 50s. And I always love seeing how writers evolve, because I think your writing and everything you do when you're an artist is sort of crafted and sort of molded by the world you live in now, your experiences and things like that. And so when I think about it, maybe we see Alex Garland more leaning towards this whole family ideal and things like that, and how our society, our environment, and all of that molds how we see our family, right? And that's where we come to the next point here, is who is Jimmy? Now, I said in the beginning that I thought Jimmy would be Cillian Murphy's Jim. Of course, let's get out of the way. That is not Cillian Murphy, that zombie. Already been discussed. That is Angus Neal. He says that he is that emaciated infected. So no Cillian Murphy zombie right now. But he is in the cast credited as Jim. But somebody pointed out that there's somebody in the cast credited as Jimmy Inc., played by Aaron Kellyman. And people are saying this could in fact be Cillian Murphy's Jim's daughter. And that got me thinking, what exactly could we see in a storyline like this, right? And it brings me back to what I was saying about family and things like that, molded by our society and our ideals. And I think Jim, being one of the very early people who saw what happened with the infected and things like that, and 28 Days Later, saw the evil that men can become quickly when things are not as easy or they're pushed against the wall, and has a daughter or child that has been born into this and doesn't know anything before it, right? Jim themselves can know what society once was, what people once did before it all went to shite. But Jimmy, who is the daughter, if it in fact is the daughter, I'm not saying it is, doesn't know that. They don't know a life without the infected, without the chaos that has come. So they don't really see a positive outlook in all of this. And I think we could see a battle of ideals of how to go forward, of how to live a life with this chaos. Because it looks like Jimmy has taken on a ruthless sort of like take on everything. We see their name written on things almost like in a godlike cult following. We see their name also etched onto somebody's skin at a point, which makes me think that they definitely are much more ruthless. And I think that that's definitely something that we will see happen in this film. We see this sort of clash of ideals of how the world should be run now and how things should be, because as we know, Jimmy, if they are indeed the daughter of Jim, were born into this world. They saw it firsthand. They don't know anything other than it. So they want to sort of mold society or what goes forward in a way they see is the best way to control chaos. And maybe that is through a iron grip. Now, I think Jim, on the other hand, could be more of an optimistic, or in fact could be with Jimmy as a pessimistic as well. You know, sometimes people do turn into what they fear the most. So I don't know. I think that that is interesting that Jimmy could in fact be Jim's daughter, and we see a whole reversal where Jimmy and Jim clash head to head. Of course, it seems that Aaron Taylor Johnson and the boy are the main protagonists and could definitely be the ones going forward. I don't think that we keep Jim, Cillian Murphy's character, going forward after this movie. I think that that is definitely what's setting up this first antagonist of sorts, and then the Bone Temple is where things finish off leading into the next one. So it's an interesting thing. I just want to talk about those points right here and see what y'all think. Start a conversation. Comment below what you think about that. Of course, I'm not saying I came up with all of these things. A lot of the comments on the other video did help me sort of start to think about all of these situations and what could come next. But I definitely do think that somebody has sort of made these zombies evolve for their own agenda, their own push, whatever they're trying to do. I also think that the Jimmy character is not Jim anymore. I think that that definitely makes sense. It could be somebody is close to Jim or a descendant of Jim, whether that's his daughter or what have you. We'll see what it is, but let me know your thoughts and opinions on it. If you're excited for this movie, we'll talk more theories and thoughts as soon as we get some more for this movie, whether it's teasers, whether it's interviews and things like that. We'll be on the lookout for them. In the meantime, go ahead and comment. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. We are about 6 months away from this movie so far, so I'm pretty sure we're gonna get some more stuff. I could definitely see a trailer dropping around the Super Bowl next. That's definitely when you could see one, and I'm curious where this could premiere. Could it premiere at a festival? That's what I'm wondering. Could it go at Cannes or South by Southwest? I don't know. I'm just saying because Alex Garland did have Civil War there, as well as Ex Machina. It's interesting. We'll see what happens. I will be updating and letting you know more about this movie, so make sure you hit the subscribe button, notification bell on the road to 37,000 subscribers. As always, stay safe, stay positive.